everybody. This is Lisa Derby Oden, and I'm the Project Development Coordinator with MassMEP, and I am here today with Charlie Merrow of Merrow Manufacturing. So, Charlie, you want to do a little introduction of yourself and tell us a little bit about Merrow Manufacturing?
Sure. My name is Charlie Merrow, and I'm the CEO of Merrow Manufacturing and the Merrow Group companies. I run it with my brother, and we're a 180-year-old company. In the last several months, we've become the largest U.S. manufacturer of PPE. And what we've done is taken an organization that 3 years ago was part of a withering industry in the U.S. And over 3 years, we have invested in it and now have a 250-person strong company in Fall River, Massachusetts. And we are proud to say that we are an enormous and successful supplier of medical products into the U.S. during the coronavirus crisis.
You know, that's just really so impressive. And, you know, I understand that not only with Merrow Manufacturing do you have a great heritage behind you in the fabric and textile business, but little birdie told me something about Lane Bryant. Do you want to say anything about Lane Bryant?
It hasn't been covered much, but Lane Bryant is Owen Merrow and Charlie Merrow's great grandmother. So on the one side we have the grand tradition at Merrow. And on the other side, we have Lane Bryant, who I think is one of the more heroic folks that have existed in the U.S. In the U.S. history of economics and economic development. A woman arrived on the shores here in 1905 with nothing, and she built $1 billion business in a time when it was hard for women, never mind immigrant women, to do anything. So we're very proud of it, but it's impressive that you dug that up.
You know what? I get goosebumps hearing about, you know, just your whole heritage all the way around, but hearing that story is really phenomenal as well. So let's just go ahead and kind of jump right in there. I know that you did pivot quite successfully. I think that that's a tribute to the culture that you have developed there at Merrow Manufacturing. And can you say a little bit about like how your business is right now? I mean, comparatively, are things up or down, or with a pivot? That's kind of an interesting kind of comparison or to ask, right?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to the question is the business to supply medical product is taxed. This is a country that failed to develop supply chains that were available when it needed them. And Merrow, along with other companies, stood up and contributed enormously to try to provide product. And for that, we're very busy cutting product. You probably can hear the cutting machines above me rumbling. We're working 18-hour days to try to fill this demand, and it's a rewarding challenge. It's taken everything that we've got to do it, and so we're very busy. But at the same time, we have other businesses at Merrow, and some of those businesses are down 70%.
Wow.
I think there is a story about economic recovery here that is far more grim than is commonly reported. And we're very aware of it, and we're grateful for everybody who has shown up, but we still suffer from 50% absenteeism as people are trying to take care of children and their families with COVID. This is a difficult and challenging time to run a business in the United States, and to the extent that we've done a good job, it's because we've worked very, very hard and participated in something that was desperately needed. But it's not lost on us that there's some real problems that we don't know how to solve either.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the things about these video blogs. I mean, it's so good to have the real picture of really what's going on out there. So I want to thank you for sharing that with us. Did you have supply chain disruptions? I know that you're very compliant, right? So that means that maybe you have a stronger domestic supply chain or not?
We have a very strong domestic supply chain. A part of that is that we put together a joint venture with a company called Forlo at the beginning of this, and Forlo had spent a year developing fabrics for their hunting line that they're launching this summer and fall. Between Merrow and Forlo, when we moved very quickly. We took large fabric positions early on, and in some cases, mills turned on because of our demand. It was, if you want goosebumps, goosebumps was when everybody was praying that they were going to get through an economic crisis. We did something that created a lot of jobs and stimulated the industry from the fiber and fabric all the way through the manufacturing. But because of that, we're moving millions of yards of fabric a week through our program, and our supply chain is pretty strong. But as I showed you earlier, this office is full of fabric and full of product, and every day is a disruptive struggle. So for all the certainty we might have on a Thursday evening, Friday can change everything, and that's part of the landscape today.
So you mentioned 50% employee absenteeism. How is, for the folks that are showing up, what's the emotional tone? Like, we've talked to other people too, and we know that it's been up and down and sort of all over the place. And are people proud to be part of this effort that's helping, to be part of the solution for the COVID situation?
Oh, people are proud. I think it's important to remember that everyone comes to work to earn money to go pay a mortgage and buy food for the week. And as proud as everybody is, I think all of us are grateful to be able to come to work and earn money to go pay our bills. And I think that's the first thing. And the second piece is, sure, we're doing something that is unbelievably important, and doing it at a scale that is making a significant difference to it'll be millions of people will wear these things. But every day, our folks come to work and worry about getting sick, worry about their families, and worry about taking care of families who, in many cases, have at least one of the members not working. So the pride is there. I think the gratefulness that there is work is also there.
Yeah, I didn't mean that to be the only measure. I know that is something that, in coming to work during troubled times and being concerned about, getting the virus and things like that, that some employers have said that, that pride factor has been something new for their employees, which is why I asked about that. But
I'll interrupt you there. I think that what Owen and I did several years ago, and the business that we built prior to COVID, made people proud. People on Fridays, without any organization, wear Merrow shirts to come to work. We're an organization that people are proud to work for, and it's the reason we're such a good company. We value everybody here. We're an imperfect group, but we recognize our flaws largely. And I think that pride of place existed prior to COVID. And I think it was that pride of place that allowed people to trust that Owen and I were doing everything to make them safe. And when we said it was safe, that we meant it. So I think that, our culture, our company, pivoted and did what it did because of the foundation that we set up for it over the last several years. And that's from a technology and a design perspective. It's from a commitment to the work, the trust of the organization. I think that our people, in every case, our people made each part of this work in dealing with many, many problems. And that's also part of what we've practiced for years. This is a company, we created 14 startups in 2008. This is a company that, we have a very interesting past, and we're well practiced in trying things and not having them work successfully or as well as we thought, and then adjusting. So this iterative process and approach to business and approach to how we run a company, again, it's felt throughout the company from the top down, and that is one of the reasons why we were able to be successful.
That's awesome. So what does the future look like for Merrow? Like in the upcoming 3 months, you talked about it being, the economic situation being challenging is a positive spin on that. And then into the future, like a year down the road, you're planning on staying in the PPE field? And
so we don't consider it the PPE field. We stood up a medical brand to provide technical soft goods into the medical industry. And we are committed to innovating, developing product, and providing Merrow branded product into industry for the foreseeable future, not as a supply chain solution, but as a point of innovation and a point of differentiation. And we believe that a long-term and durable supply chain is going to be put in place either explicitly through political will or implicitly by other private sector actors just taking action to prevent this from happening again. And Merrow will be part of that. But our approach to it is if we recognize the failures in the 80s and 90s that allowed the industry to leave, it's important to not make the same mistakes again. So our approach is going to be one of innovation. We're going to challenge every product with different materials, different designs. Why can't we bring an approach to medical that has been long been one in outdoor gear? Why can't we create technical products that perform better and create differentiation there and be and that's where Merrow is going to be. So we are spending our time and our attention on the development of products, and we fully expect to be part of this supply chain over the next several years.
It sounds like you really have quite a forward-thinking and entrepreneurial approach to the way that you run your business, and that's something that I find personally exciting. I love that kind of approach. So over this time frame of the COVID-19 so far, has there been any legislation or regulations that have gotten in your way, or conversely, are there any pieces of legislation or regulation that would help at a time like this?
To the point that there's something that has gotten in our way, nothing has been easy. I wouldn't say that anything. I don't think there have been. The governor and his team in Massachusetts and the governor and her team in Rhode Island have broken down every roadblock that existed to make sure the product was brought to market. So, if I look at it and consider it on a state level, I think that there have been some extraordinary decisions and great teamwork to get product into citizens Massachusetts and Rhode Island's hands. On a federal level, the federal government is slow to move. It's moving now. I don't believe that there are great policies that are in place. There certainly is lots of talk about types of policies that might be put in place moving forward. I wouldn't count on that too much. I don't know that we have too many examples of sweeping legislation that reforms an industry with great effect. I think there'll be some. I think there'll be some help, but I think it's up to us. What does this boil down to? It boils down to those of us that want to make good competitive product and build it into an industry that consumes a lot of it and that can use it. So I think it's up to Merrow to build itself into that industry and that supply chain. And if we can get some, help from the government to make it a little bit easier, great. But we're not going to count on that. And I also don't think it's necessary entirely.
Thank you for that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in the last couple of seconds here?
Yeah, we think it's really important that people stay healthy and stay safe. And I think that Merrow is part of a group of companies that are sharing a message, which is we need to be vigilant and we need to share in the responsibility of staying safe over the next several months. This is a crisis which isn't going to disappear on its own magically.
Right.
And it's up to everybody to recognize that it has serious implications and a lot of people are going to have a hard time. And we all need to work together to stay safe and work through it.
I think that's the togetherness, that we are all in this together. I think that's a great message. Thank you so much, Charlie, for taking some time and chatting with us today. And we look forward to seeing what Merrow does in the days ahead.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.